Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're looking at a really specific, um, intense document. It's an address by Reverend Sun Young Moon.
Right, given to Unification church members back in July 1974 in Barrytown, New York.
And this wasn't just any talk. It came right after the members finished a 3-day fast. 3 hours long, apparently.
Exactly. That context is crucial. This is internal instruction, not a public sermon. So it's raw, direct.
A mix of deep theology and some pretty urgent, real-world strategic stuff.
Absolutely. It lays out this incredibly high bar for personal dedication. It's not your average Sunday service, let's put it that way.
Okay, so our mission here is kind of unpack this blueprint. We want to get at the core philosophy, what exactly was demanded of these members.
And the geopolitical angle, too, which is maybe the most surprising part, their specific mission in 1974 America.
Yeah, it sounds like a deep dive into a system demanding, well, total transformation, ushering in this completed Testament age.
That's the term they used.
All right, let's get into it. You mentioned the leader setting a standard right off the bat with this fishing story. Sounds pretty extreme.
Oh, it is. The address kicks off with this incredible anecdote. While the members are fasting and studying, he says he's out on the sea battling the elements for 24 hours straight.
Doing what?
Catching fish.
Yeah.
For dinner for all 600 people there. The claim is he caught 162 bluefish and 47 tuna.
Wait, 202 fish in one day? That's a massive physical effort.
Exactly. And he explicitly links it. He says catching those fish is like the spiritual effort they need to put in to understand the truth of life and resurrection.
So the message is, this truth isn't easy. It requires intense, almost painful dedication, physically and mentally.
Total dedication. That's the baseline he establishes immediately.
And the material they were studying, the divine principle and unification, thought this wasn't just presented as another religious text, was it?
Not at all. It's called a heavenly treasure, sure. But the key claim is that it's systematically and scientifically proven.
Scientifically. In 1974.
That's the claim. He calls its appearance a miracle of miracles in the 20th century. It supposedly gives this clear picture of God's plan in Christianity that, philosophers and theologians before had missed.
So if you have the proven truth, that gives you immense confidence, right? He calls it the only hope for mankind.
And a shortcut. Like,
Done.
why take the scenic route to Washington, D.C. when you have the direct highway? It gives them the authority to, criticize anyone trying to lead people down what they see as the wrong path.
Their confidence stems from having this definitive answer.
Which leads straight into this claim of historical superiority. They're not just continuing tradition, they're supposedly surpassing it.
How so?
Well, the argument goes, look at past figures. Jesus was mainly focused on the Jewish people, Confucius on China, Muhammad on the Middle East.
Okay.
But the founder, he claims, is influencing young people across both East and West for the first time ever. This global reach, plus the scientific basis of the doctrine, is presented as proof of their unique, superior historical position.
Wow. Okay, that really sets the stage for some intense demands on the followers, if the teaching is that revolutionary.
Then the lifestyle has to match. And this brings us to the core ideas about suffering, confidence, and this completed testament.
Right. He actually says they need to experience sorrow and pain.
Yes, and not just their own personal stuff. It has to extend outwards, family pain, national pain, even world-level pain. The idea is, without feeling that universal sorrow, you just don't get human life.
And this isn't just random suffering. It's tied to how God is defined in this teaching.
Exactly. God is presented as a God of pain and sorrow, having suffered right alongside humanity for, 6,000 years of history.
So God relates to those who suffer most.
That's the idea. God sides with those who sacrifice themselves the most, right in the thick of the world's sorrow. So suffering becomes the way you align yourself with God.
And the ultimate goal is achieving a new kind of relationship with this God, going beyond what came before.
Correct. The teaching lays out 3 stages, sort of. Old Testament, master servant.
Yeah.
New Testament, adopted son or daughter.
And the new age.
The completed testament age, becoming a true son or daughter. That's the goal for the members, to be a class totally devoted true children, better even than Jesus' own disciples, is the implication.
Which leads to this next part, which is honestly pretty staggering. This requirement for absolute, no doubt at all faith.
Even under persecution.
Yeah.
Total, unwavering confidence.
But then he takes it a step further, challenging core Christian scripture.
Yes, this is maybe one of the most radical points. He explicitly says he does not accept Jesus' Gethsemane prayer. "Father, why hast thou forsaken me?"
He rejects that moment, Jesus' deepest point of human struggle and doubt.
Rejects it entirely. The message to followers is, you must be stronger than that. Your confidence must be absolute, even beyond what Jesus expressed in that moment.
How is that even justified? How can you demand that level of non-complaining loyalty?
The justification seems to be that their confidence in this new truth should be so total it overcomes any pain or doubt. They're told to strive to be superior to God almost, or at least to compete with God's strategy. The example given is, if God asks you to do something, don't just comply. Say, no problem, I'll do even more. It's about proving this unwavering, proactive confidence.
So it's confidence, knowledge, and action. That's the formula he lays out.
That's the three-step path to victory. Confidence from the truth, knowledge of everything relevant, theological and practical, and action actually doing it in the world.
And that action part took them straight into American politics in 1974.
Right into the deep end. Which brings us to the whole geopolitical agenda laid out in this address.
So what was their take on America at that time? Mid-70s, Watergate era?
Pretty bleak, actually. He calls America wealthy but unhappy, declining from the top to the bottom right now.
Any specific examples?
He points to the energy crisis that was happening then, but sees it as symbolic of something deeper, a shortage of conscience.
And he thought America was particularly hard to fix.
Yeah, uniquely difficult.
Yeah.
Because it's a multiracial melting pot. There's too much freedom and too many debates.
Interesting. So more freedom makes it harder to restore.
According to this address, yes. It means the American members needed tougher, harsher training than members in places like Japan or Korea, which he saw as more homogeneous. The complexity meant a higher spiritual price had to be paid.
And the most concrete, maybe audacious part of this action plan involved President Nixon.
Oh, absolutely, the Watergate intervention.
Yeah.
This wasn't vague spiritual support. It was a specific strategy aimed at the final stage of the impeachment process in the Senate.
What was the plan?
To prevent that crucial two-thirds vote needed to remove Nixon from office. And the final strategy discussed, getting 1,200 members to conduct a 7-day fast.
Hold on. A mass fast by 1,200 people to influence a Senate impeachment vote.
That was the plan. A spiritual and physical push aimed directly at a constitutional process.
What was the goal? What did they hope to achieve if it worked?
It was incredibly strategic. If Nixon was saved seemingly at the last minute due to their efforts, the idea was that Reverend Moon would be hailed as the nation's savior.
Making his name famous worldwide.
Exactly. The source quotes him saying his name would become more popular and famous. It was a huge gamble, a political power play framed as a spiritual act.
Wow. Okay, besides the Nixon situation, there is another major action item, right? Targeting social issues.
Yes, this anti-drug, anti-hippie campaign. It was framed as an urgent mission.
Why so urgent?
Because this perceived corruption the hippies, the drug use, was seen as a sign of America's impending destruction, and crucially, as creating an opening for communist infiltration.
So saving hippies was also about fighting communism.
In this framework, yes.
Yeah.
It was about saving America from internal decay and external threats.
And the plan to actually do this was surprisingly specific, too.
Extremely specific. It involved mobilizing black college students. He even mentions potentially using a specific person's track team, Glenda Moody's team.
Mobilizing black students to what?
To basically confront white hippies using a very particular racially charged message. The slogan suggested was along the lines of, "You white hippies are destroying yourselves with this trash. We black people aren't going to follow you."
Whoa. That's a very direct and provocative approach.
The stated aim was to shock the public, grab international attention, and clearly position the movement as morally superior to this perceived cultural decay.
The level of detail here, specific people, specific slogans, targeting the highest office, it really drives home how much responsibility was placed on each individual member.
Totally. And that loops back to how incredibly valuable each member was considered within this system.
Yeah, you mentioned they were told their personal value was more valuable than that of the nation of America.
Which sounds almost unbelievable, but it sets up the immense weight of responsibility.
Because the flip side is immense consequences for failure.
Right. The failure of even one member is described as potentially being a greater failure than the first fall of Adam and Eve.
That's intense. So they're not just followers. They have to be better than the originals.
Better than Jesus' disciples, even. They have to succeed where Jesus, according to this teaching, didn't fully succeed establishing a restored individual, then family, tribe, and ultimately God's nation on earth.
And the family unit itself gets redefined in this completed testament age.
Yes. The spouse isn't just my wife or my husband in a personal sense.
What are they then?
Your spouse is seen as an ambassador plenipotentiary, sent directly from God. They bring God's love and life. The primary loyalty isn't personal possession. It's to the shared divine mission.
It all keeps coming back to this mission, and fulfilling it requires paying what's called the indemnity price. What exactly is that, like a spiritual debt?
That's a good way to put it. It's the price paid to restore everything, to undo the historical failures. And it's purchased through total sacrifice.
How? What's the currency?
Total dedication of your life and love to God. But crucially, it has to be done from the position of a Messiah, selflessly, without any partiality or personal gain involved.
So each individual member essentially has to act like a mini Messiah, paying back this huge historical debt through their own efforts.
Exactly. Their personal struggle, their total dedication becomes the front line of this final historical battle.
Okay, so wrapping this up, we've dug into this really potent 1974 address. It laid out a whole system, a unique theology with God as a God of pain.
A very specific tactical mission strategy involving Nixon and the counterculture.
And these extreme personal expectations, absolute loyalty, zero doubt, even aiming to be superior to foundational figures like Jesus.
Yeah, and it underlines just how immediate and high stakes they saw their mission, especially regarding America. He even mentions, if America fails this mission, he's ready to basically pack up the members and move on.
Where?
Maybe Europe, he suggests. Shows this wasn't just abstract theology. It was about achieving concrete results. Right then, in the mid-70s, failure meant abandoning the American project.
So considering this incredible level of sacrifice and loyalty demanded, rejecting vulnerability, aiming to compete with God's strategy, it makes you wonder, what ideal, spiritual or otherwise, could possibly be considered worthy of that kind of absolute, unquestioning, non-complaining dedication? That's the really challenging question this material leaves us with, for you to think about.